My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubeau. And have you ever wondered how a real estate expert juggles between being a broker, a creative finance strategist, and an investor, all while helping others build wealth in the market? Well, today, my guest, Chris Miller, has mastered the art of balancing these roles and is here to share his insights. Chris, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Awesome. Thank you, Bryce. And it's good to be here too. It's an exciting world in real estate these days.
Yeah, it's definitely up and down. It depends what side of the table you're at. Some people are signing losses. Some people are signing big wins. So
yes, that is the truth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 7-year cycle, depending on what side of the table you're in. Maybe you're signing big checks, maybe you're not. But at the end of the day, you got to stay in the game. You only lose when you quit. So can you tell us a little bit about your real estate journey in the industry and how it evolved into your current role as a broker, financial strategist, investor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, when I really think back about what got my taste in the investment world was my very first property that I bought before I even owned a home. I actually purchased a condo apartment back in Southern Ontario in my early 20s. And I thought, well, this is great. I bought the place, I rented it out, and they were just like the perfect tenants. So I was like, wow, this seems too easy to be true. And then from there, didn't know much about real estate. I just bought it because I thought it'd be a good idea, bought my own house. And just basically from there, I got really curious. So my journey from there ended up taking me from an interesting world of adventure tourism and recreation, being around lots of people, lots of different cultures, lots of different demographics. And somebody introduced me to the idea of being a real estate agent because I was just good with people. And I thought, well, I don't really have a lot of cash for real estate, but being in real estate sounds pretty fun. So I dug a little bit deeper, did a couple interviews, and jumped on board, went and got my license and started working with people. So that's now 19 years ago, Bryce.
Wow. So what motivated you to kind of transition from personal investing to helping others build wealth in real estate?
Well, I think when it came down to it, money actually didn't really force me or motivate me to be aspired to do anything. Helping people was really my motivation. And I thought, you know what? I didn't get a chance to learn about investing in real estate from anybody else in my family or my sphere. Now that I'm in it, I feel like this would be fun to teach other people about. So I kind of just felt like I drove into it or jumped into it based on helping other people invest since I was having so much fun working in the industry.
So what are some primary strategies when working with investors for, say, a buy and hold or like some flip strategies?
Yeah, very good. Well, I think the big strategy is, making money on the purchase. So whatever I am helping people with, everybody has their own numbers, what it costs to renovate, what their rental costs are per se. And I want to make sure people just make money on the purchase. So if we get a good deal, fair price for a fair condition home, that's half of the battle, really, if not more, in my opinion. And that's kind of where I focus my energy on. And of course, my strategies are about getting that purchase to be that great deal. So the other things, appreciation, good rents, good condition, or cheap renos are after the fact. So I like to just say spearhead. First thing I want to do is make sure we find a good property at a great price.
Yeah, that's the one thing you can't really erase. Like you can hold something and fix the reno budgets and the rents go up in price, but you can never really undo a bad purchase. So making sure that you buy right definitely seems to be a strategy that is successful for a lot of people. So don't rush in there. So what are some insights into your approach for finding these creative solutions for your real estate deals?
That's a good question. I think seasonality actually is part of my strategy, Bryce, where I like to make sure people are buying when the market is more motivated sellers. So if we're in a season where the sellers are not all that motivated and there's lots of buyer action, we just kind of hold the fort a bit and we wait till sellers really want to make a deal and they're having a hard time. Now that can be hard in a country like ours today where everything is going up fast, but there's still those little seasonal ups and downs. Good example, buying a property around Christmas time. People don't want to move at Christmas unless they have to.
Hmm.
They're thinking, oh my gosh, we're starting the new job in January and it's November. We got to make this sale happen quick. So that's
Yeah.
one strategy, is seasonality, even in a crazy market. The next one is finding properties off market price. I know that they're not always easy to find, and you still have to have a criteria of a home you want to buy. But I really love finding properties that are not people that have listed. They're people that are estate sales. They have maybe some properties that need some work, or they just don't want to spend time and money getting the house ready to look pretty. And
Hmm.
those are the properties that I like to build a strategy around as well.
Yeah, that's one thing that me and my realtor focus on is the last 15 days of December where things people are trying to unload their property. They're
Yeah.
maybe thinking about the taxation of the calendar year. And they're like, well, if I can execute a sale in 2024 before it's 2025.
Mhm.
And also a lot of people are looking left when you're going right. They're busy at Christmas parties and driving to see the in-laws, and
Yeah.
the action on properties, the number of offers in the last 10 days, 15 days of December, you might be
Mhm.
the only person on the table, and
Yeah.
they'll take the deal. So
Mhm.
um when you're looking at the different ways, what are some ways that you can assist your clients in identifying opportunities and ultimately maximizing the returns in the marketplace?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of it is, looking for opportunities for houses that are really the bones, the structure is good.
Mm,
I love looking at properties that are longtime owners, where they've done the roof, they've done the windows, they've done the furnace, none of the pretty stuff that you get to enjoy. But
mm-hmm,
you go in and it's like, wow, this is like an estate sale. Everything's original condition except for the roof and the windows and mechanicals. And you're like, wow, this is going to be a good purchase because anything you do is going to be superficial from there. So
yeah.
that's a good avenue I like to go down, is people that are longtime owners in their home and taking good care.
Well, and it's interesting too, because a lot of those things you're talking about are sold door to door. The window guy knocks on your door, the furnace
Yeah.
guy knocks on your door. And those sales happen, but you don't, the guy who does kitchen flooring, bathroom paint, he's not knocking on doors to say, hey, do you want a new flooring in your living room? And grandma's
Mhm.
like, no, I don't. I like the shag carpet. I have the rake for it and everything. So
Yeah.
um
Mhm.
let's talk about real estate success. What would you say your biggest success in real estate investment has been?
My biggest success. Wow. I think if we're talking numbers, I think, helping my clients in the past, I've had a profit margin of, $175,000 net on one sale. That
Nice.
would be a great success to share. I think my big successes also vary though in just people helping achieve their goals. Somebody
Hmm.
says, I want to buy five properties this year. And we've gone out and said, okay, what's the strategy? You've got five properties. Here's your budget. Why do you want five? Analyzing what that exciting goal for them is. And it could just be that they want five properties in general, but five good
Hmm.
properties. And I've had clients that have gone and done that. We're going to acquire five properties in the next 12 months, and we've gone out and done it. So I think my biggest success has probably been really listening to what my investor feels their goal is
Hmm.
and building a plan around their success. It's not about me. I have fun doing this, but there's lots of different ways to do it. There's nothing better than seeing a high five from a client that says, we had our goal, you helped us achieve what we wanted.
Yeah, definitely. So, how has your dedication to learning and understanding various strategies contributed to your success so far?
I'd have to say it's paramount is the word. I've been in the business a long time, long enough to know what I don't know.
Hmm.
And being in a traditional real estate environment, I worked with a boutique. I worked in, I was one of the number one sales at Remax office here. I really found that my curiosity was dwindling being in a franchise and it was becoming transactional.
Hmm.
I opted a couple years ago to leave, and you can see my brokerage name right on the screen here. I left and opened up an independent brokerage that talked about curiosity and creativity, how to find everybody a win-win situation.
Mm.
And I think that was my biggest paramount decision, was realizing there's more than one way to do real estate. And sitting down with different people, I hated leaving the table thinking in a transactional mindset or a traditional real estate, saying, I can't help you with traditional means. That just killed me. I'm like, why am I in this business? If I'm a professional, I should be
Hmm.
able to do it all. So then I went down the deep dive and said, okay, how many different ways are there to buy real estate? Well, that's a never ending story.
Yeah.
But at least we know there's probably five or six top strategies. And basically, I opened up my brokerage and based on that foundation of helping everyone, regardless of their primary strategy, because there is a way to help people, even though they might feel stuck in a situation.
Mm. So can you share like a specific example of a deal where finding a tailored solution for the client led to their success?
Yes, absolutely. There's a situation where seller financing might come into play. And a lot of
Hmm.
people go, well, why would a seller ever want to do that? Why would they want to be the bank? There's so much risk. What if you got to foreclose on them? I
Yeah.
thought, well, you know what? If a seller wants to do it, it's because there's an advantage to it. Well, what would the
Hmm.
advantage to the seller be? Well, maybe they can make some really good mortgage interest.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a property that they own 100% outright and they don't want to take the hit by selling that property and having all that capital gains. They want to spread it out over time. So a seller financing opportunity came to a position where in that one particular client, they get to spread out their gains over a 5-year term. So that strategy was an ideal situation for them. And believe it or not, sitting down at the table, it hadn't even crossed their mind. They
Yeah.
literally said, we didn't know that was an option. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of times with real estate agents, they're very focused on the primary strategy of transacting the property. They're not
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Let's put it up. Let's
mindful.
sell it.
Yeah, let's transact it and hit the lawyer table and change titles. But especially in the United States, you're seeing that a lot more now that the interest rates have changed, is that they might have 100% of the equity. They might own that thing free and clear, and selling it might be actually a tax disadvantage. So like you're saying, can we
Mm-hmm.
tailor a sale, still a transactional like changing of hands, but can we
Mm-hmm.
do it gradually? Can we, turn it into some long-term income instead
Yeah.
of just, $200,000 is hitting your bank account, and whether the IRS or the CRA is like, okay, where's our piece, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
with all the things that you're doing, what's the biggest challenge you face managing these opportunities and consultations really that you're working on?
Well, I guess, the short but, trivial challenge is how to keep a meeting short so people don't get overwhelmed with the opportunity. So sitting down and talking with people about their options is really, got to nip that in the bud. What's best for you? I don't want to just spew 7 strategies at you.
Yeah.
Secondly, though, really a lot of people aren't aware of the different variety of strategies you can use. And I think my biggest challenge is actually not coming up with so many crazy opportunities that I can handle them all. At the end of the day, when I'm using this many strategies, so many people contact me and I have a solution that could possibly work for them that my phone just doesn't stop ringing. And I
Mhm.
don't want to be spread too thin. I want to give a really great advice and guidance. And at the end of the day, I have to tell people, okay, sit tight for a bit. I'm a little bit busy this week. I don't want to give you bad advice or not really hear your story. And really just having more hours in the day, Bryce.
Yeah, if we could have more hours. So here's something interesting to think about. How do you navigate issues of unrealistic expectations amongst investors due to like inadequate information or education about the marketplace? How do you manage that? Say, oh, you want too much, or what you're looking for isn't even a thing. Like, how do you have that conversation?
That's a really good question. And, I actually pose it in the form of a question. Let's say, for example, you were the seller, you're the owner of the
Hmm.
property. You said, I want $500,000 for my house and my house is worth 400. I'd say, you know what? Well, in order to get close to 500,000, I can tell you is going to be a huge challenge. Not many
Hmm.
people are going to overpay. In fact, people don't. But if I have a strategy here for you that could get you maybe 450, would that interest you? Like, what is
Hmm.
it about the dollar value you're trying to achieve? That seems quite unrealistic. So I can just go into my thinking cap and say, is there a strategy that might acquire that? So I like to really be curious. And by being curious, that helps me really deflate a lot of people that are really overzealous or really not sure that, or they are sure what they're doing, but they're not really educated as much as they could be, is to stay in curiosity.
Hmm. So, being in the industry now, a good part of 20 years, what would you say your unfair advantage is? What comes easy to you that other people might find difficult to do?
That's a good question. I think unfair advantage would be I have so many tools that it's really hard for people to say they don't see the need to talk to me or they want to keep
Mm,
looking around and see if there's other options. And I guess that's an unfair but great tool for me to have.
Yeah.
Simply because I'm here to help people with the strategy that might work for their needs. And if they need me now or they need me later, I'm not in a rush. And I think that's the beautiful thing about my patient approach. There's always a plenty of business and plenty of blessing and opportunity. And I get that by just being a blessing to other people by not saying, hey, I want the transaction. And, how do I help you with your goal? If it's
Mm.
achievable, we can figure out.
So, what advice would you have for aspiring real estate investors looking to enter the market in 2024?
That's a good one. I think everybody has a strategy that they really lean toward. Like you have a
Mm-hmm.
gut feeling. I think this is something I could work with. This is something I can move forward with. But every new investor is constantly bombarded or hearing the noise from all these different strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you can make one transaction happen with a strategy you think you can already manage or have somebody to walk you through it, the doors will open to many other opportunities, and try not to get lost in the chaos and the noise.
Yeah. So, are there any key lessons you've learned throughout your career that you'd like to share with our audience that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
Key lessons. Definitely, I think the two things that come to mind, Bryce, right now is don't force a deal. If the deal
Mm-hmm.
is something that's going to be there, the more you force it, the more risk seems to come to play.
Yeah.
I think the second thing is when you're really having fun with it, you're not really feeling like you're trying to be salesy, you're trying to find a win-win opportunity.
Mm.
You'll find yourself gravitating towards some really good opportunities without having to pressure yourself and to feel like you need to do 10 deals to be successful.
Yeah. I always would say it's not about the deals you do, it's the deals you don't do, because those might sink. One bad deal could sink 10 good deals in a row. So, um,
Yeah,
don't force it, right? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And deals are like buses, there's another one coming.
there
So,
is. Mhm.
when you look at, you've been in the industry for 2 decades. What do you
Mhm.
see the future of real estate investing evolving into? What opportunities do you anticipate for investors in these coming years?
Right. Well, I think that's twofold. I think in the future, I see there's definitely a reluctance to work with big banks. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people are trying to find the creative ways to work with deals. I mean, there's huge advantages as a purchaser, but I think people forget there's also advantages for homeowners as well. I give you an example really quickly here. A homeowner who's stuck with a high prepayment penalty if they pay out their mortgage they just renewed 6 months ago,
Yeah.
that $20,000 payment penalty might not be great for them, but if they could hold off and do it in 4 years more, 4.5 years, then there's a win-win. They just net more money because they're in a situation where they're not eager to close a deal fast.
Yeah.
So I think the big banks is one. The second thing is with real estate, there's so much volatility across the world, but in Canada, we're seeing really people are afraid of what the prices are going to do. And I think if
Yeah.
you can really just say, I'm going to invest in real estate in a smart, statistical, provable way. My opinion as a realtor broker, your buddy's opinion as to what he thinks happening this week compared to last week, those are small opinions that shouldn't matter nearly as much as the data. And I
Mm.
really love to use data and infrastructure and say, okay, this area, this is what we want to do, and follow the principle. Cheapest house in the nicest neighborhood is really hard to fail with.
Yeah.
Most expensive house in a cheap neighborhood, really easy to crash and burn with.
Yeah. There's the old adage, easy to buy, hard to sell, hard to buy, easy to sell. So when you're looking at,
Mhm.
what you're doing with property, sometimes people get really excited. They're like, oh, I can buy this thing for, really cheap. And you're like, okay, well, why is nobody else doing that? Like, why is this opportunity so unhidden? Well, it's been on the market for a
Mhm.
bit. It's like, okay, well, easy to buy, hard to sell. So unless you plan to wait it out, and there's that, I was watching this video the other day, this podcast, and the guy says, when's the best time to buy real estate? And the guy says, well, that's still not really the question. It's like, when's the best time to own real estate? And that's usually all the time. Over time,
Right.
the real
Mhm.
estate is, especially if you're seeing the numbers in Canada. Well, Ontario might have taken a little bump when the interest rates in this. You'd have to sit there and go, are they done? Are the prices done going up in Ontario? I don't think so. Are they done going up nationwide? I don't think so. As the dollar, fluctuates, if they adjust the interest rates even like a quarter percentage, we're gonna see another run. So it might be in our best interest that they just stay the rate for the 2024. Because I don't know about what you're seeing, but I'm seeing agents, we're seeing offer dates coming back. We're seeing multiple offers on properties. We're seeing mortgage brokers going from, say, 3 months and 50 inquiries into 5 days and 50 inquiries for mortgage
Right.
applications. So
Yeah.
I don't think people can wait forever. So if you're thinking about selling a property,
Mhm.
um, this market seems to be pretty decent to get, maybe put that thing you've been thinking about selling and get it off the books, because um, there is an upcoming wave. I'm not sure how big it's going to be, but maybe you could
Mhm.
speak to what you're seeing.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the Edmonton market, for example, where I'm located now, and it's a lot of years here. I've seen some booms, I've seen some busts, but the one thing, it's still much more affordable here than even in Calgary, south of us. And I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, I just listed a property this weekend. We had 16 offers, Bryce,
Mm.
and that is not a property you're going to get a good deal on.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, the one thing I really see happening in the market is rent is volatile. It's
Yeah.
expensive, it's increasing. People can't necessarily contain the affordability of rent. And that inevitably pushes people to think, hey, if I could have a mortgage for less than what I'm paying in rent, this is a good market to buy in. And
Hmm.
100%, there's always a need for renters. But there's also a situation where if you really want to strategically say, I want to know what I'm going to be able to have a good life as I age, controlling your monthly expenses is having a mortgage inevitably that will be paid over and or long-term investment. It's not
Yeah.
meant to be a short-term investment. It's nice to have exit strategies. It's absolutely imperative to do that. But at the end of the day, if rent is costing you $2,000 today and your mortgage is costing you 1,700, wouldn't you want to find a way just to say, how can I buy? Not
Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen, but just like, is there a way for me to do it, and research that and really dig deep. And that's what
Yeah.
I do.
Well, there's a saying that I picked up at a mastermind a couple of weeks ago. We were out in Houston, and as the presenter said, "I can't" is bad communication, because "I can't" has actually two underlying meanings. One is I don't want to, but the other
Mhm.
one, which I think is most important, has really changed my outlook, is I don't know how to. So
Right.
like you're saying, it's like people say, "Oh, I can't get a mortgage. I can't get into a house. I can't buy a house, so I'm going to keep renting."
Yeah.
Is that because you don't know how, or because you don't want to? And then investigating whether or not you can, because I think
Mhm.
anyone wants to. I mean, there's some people who want to move and they want to be kind of free, but you're right. The rent, it for a long time, it was cheaper to rent. It just
Yeah.
was, like
Mhm.
I was in properties where we were paying 1,100, 1,200 in a house. And I know that the owner, unless they bought it in the 90s, was paying almost that much to carry that house for me. So they're not making,
Right.
all I'm doing is paying their mortgage. But now interest rates and renewals, that landlord has to raise the rents because they're now negative cash flowing, and it's pushing
Mhm.
that up. And they're saying, okay, well, now the renter's going, am I going to pay $2,300, $2,500 a month into somebody
Yeah.
else's pocket? Maybe I should go down to the bank. Maybe I should look at third
Yeah.
party hard money loan that might be at 9 or 12%, but the money's going to me and
Mhm.
my future, as opposed to the landlord and the landlord's future. So I
Yeah.
like what you're saying. Investigate whether you're mortgageable and figure out how,
Mhm.
instead of just saying I can't, because I think it's probably, there's a lot of creative ways to get into real estate ownership, and going to
There
the bank
is.
is just
Mhm.
one of them.
It is. And actually, one of the things I wanted to pipe in there, Bryce, is I'm not surprised anymore, but I was often surprised when I found out and discovered how many homeowners are willing to do creative things
Yeah.
because it's to their benefit. That shocked me in the initial stages of doing a lot of this consultations and just discussions with people. Homeowners actually are not afraid of creativity if someone
Hmm.
shows them what it could look like. It's the everybody's afraid of the unknown.
Yeah, I can't do that. It's like I can't creative finance my house, Chris. Well, is it that
Mhm.
you don't know how, or that you don't want to? And then usually they want to. So then it's
Mhm.
the education of, okay, let me walk you through how, and then maybe you can make a decision about whether selling this house is actually to your benefit. Maybe it's actually doing some sort of like 10-year rent to own thing for an oil rigger who maybe isn't so financeable, but makes 15 grand a month coming in from up
Yeah.
north, but his credit card situation is bad, but he's got this growing family, and they don't need to sell, but they no longer want to hold this property. Well, maybe we can get that rigger in there and set him up on a great term, and he's got the 25K, 30K down. It's in his bank account. The bank won't touch him because he's like sideways, or maybe he had a foreclosure, or maybe he had a bankruptcy 5 years ago, but he's totally able to carry the property, and you can make a creative deal, especially in Alberta, because in Manitoba, we don't really have that rigger money. There's no one pulling that oil money like that. But in Alberta, all across the board, it's rent to own country. And, I guess if people want to find out more about that, you're probably the guy they should reach out to. So how do they find you? What should they do?
You bet. Well, of course, you can search Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, YEG, because that's Edmonton for us. And I'm the only brokerage out here. It's certainly easy to find me that way. But Chris Miller is my full name. And Chris Miller, Edmonton Realtor, or 780-966-5954 is my direct cell line. And I'd be happy to have a consultation just to say, what's your goals and how can I help?
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by, Chris.
My pleasure, and great chatting with you, and onward and upward with 2024 investing.
Excellent. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.